Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jabroni Drive. On this week's episode, the King of the Ring, Cody versus Logan, Gable's turning, Drew versus Damien, Jay versus Gunther, and so much more. Will this be the greatest episode of Jabroni Drive yet? I think so. Timmy, what do you got to say to all the Schmidt-Lavelites out there?
Tom, everybody knows that listening to Jabroni Drive is just too sweet. And when you listen to Jabroni Drive, you are a Jabroni for life.
I love it. Jabroni Drive starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jabroni Drive. My name's Tom Lavelle. As always, I'm accompanied by Mr. Timothy Schmidt. Before we get started, we want to thank you for listening. We appreciate you listening. If you're not already doing it, give us that follow. Give us that subscribe. Listen to the show, Jabroni Drive, the hottest growing wrestling show of all time. If you want to be a part of the show, give us a call at 215-948-OK-GO. That's 215-948-6546. Leave a message about something, professional wrestling, a topic, a story, an old match you'd like us to check out, and we will talk about it on the show. We appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for coming along. Let's get right to it, Timmy. A lot going on this week. We're building to the King of the Ring, PLE, and let's talk about the King of the Ring, King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Right away, I want to talk about this because we were hesitant going into this tournament. Was it just going to be the same old, like it didn't really have that I don't know, cachet, that like prize at the end, that sought after prize that really was meaningful. And I want to say WWE has done a great job of holding this tournament, building this tournament, focusing on it. It's dictated the show and the matches that are on the show, and it's given a purpose to each week's episodes. We have the tournaments, and it's a great tournament, and I really think they've done a good job of bringing the prestige back into it. Your thoughts on it so far?
No, yeah, I think you hit it spot on. And it's just kind of a way, I think, for the WWE to, give meaning and purpose, right? Like, because, we've all felt this as soon as WrestleMania hits, right? After WrestleMania, we wrap up all these storylines and, it ends up falling into a little bit of a lull, right? And you're sitting here and you're like, all right, what's next? Like some people I even talk to that are wrestling fans are saying like, yeah, this is kind of the downtime for me. I don't really get into it until like SummerSlam. And I think this is the WWE's answer to really get those people to stay tuned, right? Like, hey, I get like this is almost like the off season, if you will, like, right? And yeah, there's new wrestlers on the rosters, and they're building their stories and things of that nature. But like this kind of gives the WWE a nice little bridge into the summer, into SummerSlam, right? And the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring has been a really nice add, in my opinion, since I've been back now this is my second year watching now. So thank you to Tom. Versus last year where, it was just PLE after PLE. And I think last year's PLE in Saudi Arabia was Night of Champions, right? Where, I mean, it was nice, but it doesn't have the same cachet that King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring does. And again, to your point, they've done a nice job with branding it, right? Like even during the matches, right? You see that this is a quarterfinal match, right? On the boards and stuff like that. They have it up, right? And it's, and they call it like that. Michael, the announcers have done a nice job of really, the repetition with just letting the viewer know, what this actually is. It's not just another match, right? It's consistent, right? In the way that they commentate it. So,
and they show the stories. How did we get here? And they show the footage of the week prior and the maybe week prior before that of the matches and the build up and stuff like that. So it's been a great job of this story of King of the Ring being told. You have significant wrestlers in the tournament, a guy like Gunther, who was a main event star, obviously main event Jey Uso. And we're going to get into some of the matches coming up, but like Triple H is a historian, a noted wrestling historian, and I really think he wanted to put an emphasis on bringing that prestige back to the King and Queen of the Ring title. And they're hitting it out of the park, and it's fun to see these matchups. Another thing is, I feel like it's an answer to some critics that say they don't do enough in ring, because you see these matches and they give them the time. It's 2 commercial breaks in between these matches because they're letting that story develop in the ring and showing what they can do talent-wise. Ricochet got to showcase his match with Ilya, a guy that was coming up last week. This week you get Gunther versus Kofi, and that's an incredible match. And Jay versus Ilya on Raw. And it's just done a good job of showcasing these guys that don't get the shots that you'd like, and putting them in this tournament, and then building their bigger stars. Jay moves on, Gunther moves on, and it's like adding more to their arsenal of, look at how good I am.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, character development is always key. And when you have these matches that aren't necessarily like, look, this would be a step below, right? A PLE, right? You're not featured in the PLE, but hey, listen, you're in the tournament, which is probably just a step down, right? Hey, like we're going to feature you during the King of the Ring or the Queen of the Ring. Here's your opportunity to kind of get the spotlight on you a little bit, and let's see how you showcase yourself, right? And let's see. And some people have delivered. Like, dude, I mean, the Baron Corbin for me, I know we went a little nuts on him. I mean,
No.
he looked fantastic in the ring last time we saw him in the King of the Ring matchup against who did he wrestle?
Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo Hayes, right.
Yeah.
And again, look, they face each other in NXT, but again, this is a different stage here, right? A lot more eyes on him, and he looked great. And then I know we're going to
Jade
get in.
Cargill looked
Yeah,
great in
yeah.
her match. And I would say I was really impressed. And dare I say it, I was impressed with Io Sky and Shayna Baszler. And I think what you're saying and what they've done is they've said, you're going to get this opportunity. Okay. Even Shayna Baszler, who's lost, so she will not be in on the PLE, but you're getting Monday Night Raw a long amount of time in a match, a 15-minute match where you can really show and tell a story. And it's been great I would say it's been great for the talent. I'm sure they love it, and they know they can go to the ring. And I'm hoping that WWE takes this and is like, this should be the new formula. You have 3 hours on Monday Night Raw. Give
So
them time in the ring.
let me just give you a quick difference, Tom, in what we see, right? So you talked about Io Sky and Shayna Baszler, that match, right? It's a Queen of the Ring qualifier match, right? And it's something that you took notice of. Okay. It's something that you're obviously bringing up on the show. But if you think back to all the Raws and I mean that we've watched over the course of the last year, we they usually go to the women and we consider it a cool down match, right? Right before the main event. And it's usually some thrown in, tag team women's match that really we just turn off, right?
Right.
And we're like, all right, we can go back like right around like 10:40 or 10:35 in time for the main event, right? And we
Right.
can either turn the channel or put on the Phillies or put on some other sports thing, and then we go back, we just keep on checking. And here in this thing, you get the showcase, hey, listen, Shayna Baszler was in that Queen, and now you're talking about it. So that's the difference between what they've done versus what they were doing in the past.
Right. We've seen more of Io Sky this past week than we did her whole title reign, basically.
Yeah.
And the other point of that, too, is not only are they getting that showcase, it is a tournament. So it means, okay, now they win and they're going to go face someone else. So it leads to something. It's not just a match thrown together that it doesn't mean anything. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Correct.
I feel like so many times they have to implant storyline, oh, there was a swerve at the end of that match or something happened because it's just a match that they threw together, where this match is a tournament. So the storyline is making it to the next round. and it's not like, they have to. It's been great, and honestly, I hope they adapt this formula moving forward. It doesn't have to be king and queen of the ring, but okay, these 8 competitors are going to vie for the number one contender going into SummerSlam or whatever. Specifically, probably a PLE that isn't a major, and I'm going to include Money in the Bank on that. That isn't a major PLE. Give us like this PLE
Well,
right
yeah.
here.
I
Give
mean,
us a tournament leading to the number one contender.
that's really the basis of sports, right? I mean, that's
Right.
what it's like. Hey, listen, you beat this guy and you beat this guy, and hey, now you have an opportunity at the title. It's not just like, hey, you walk into Adam Pierce's office and say, hey, I need a title shot. And then he goes, all right, you're in. You
You've
got
earned
it. Yeah, you've
it.
earned it. Let's
I
go.
like your gusto.
Yeah.
All
Hey, what's his
right.
catchphrase?
And that's official.
That's official.
All right. Well, let's talk about so Jey Uso wins, and we're not going to go too long into it, but next week we got Jey versus Gunther for the the semifinal to make it to the finals of the King of the Ring. That's a main event of a PLE right there, and we're getting that on Monday Night Raw. And then we also have um Io. Oh wait, no, Io versus Io won, and
Yeah,
Valkyria or whatever.
Valkyria. Valkyria.
Alia. I'm gonna have to work on her name, but that should be interesting going into. But I'm really looking forward to the SmackDown Women's
Yeah.
uh tournament moving forward. Tiffy Time versus Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Nia. We talked about this before the show, Timmy, and you're like, that is like, I want to check that out.
Yeah. Well, Tiffy time, Tiffany Stratton has been, I mean, she's on a meteoric rise. And it's going to be interesting to see where they push, right? Is it going to be the same thing and we're just going to get Bianca shoved down our throats, which I don't mind. She's great. Um, or does Tiffany get the upset and they push her towards that crown, right? Because she's perfect for it. I mean,
Yeah.
she is
Oh, she's
she
perfect.
is she would fit that mold so well. And you know what the thing is, that's a shame because I look Nia Jax. Um, she's been so close, and I thought they were gonna actually put the belt on her, and I'm wondering how long they can keep on pushing her off for, right? Like at some point, I think she deserves, a little run at the title or with the title because since she's come back, I mean, she has done an incredible job of rehabbing her character and getting not over, but she gets a lot of heat, right? Like she gets a
Right.
ton of heat and she plays that role so well. And she's been really good in ring, in my opinion. I think she's been really, really good since she's come back.
Right. And she's like a different type of powerhouse that, they don't have in the women's division. I mean, her finishing move, that bonsai drop it's legit. It looks like that would hurt. And
Right.
so I love that move. And I think they're laying the groundwork. I think they did last week. Bianca won her match, but her knee was hurt. They kept talking about her knee and she was limping afterwards and stuff like that. I'm hoping if they're going to, I feel like that's the way to protect Bianca losing this match if her knee gives out and there's something going on with a knee injury there and
Mm.
Tiffy can move on. Jade and Nia, I don't know where they're going to go with this one. I'm imagining they're going to give Jade that push. Um, at the end of this, if I'm picking one to win from the women's, I'm picking Tiffany Stratton is who I would like to see win. Just because I love her. She's been on such a rise, like we're talking about. And boom, I think she wins this, and then you take her to the top. She should hold a title soon. She's just taken off. Like almost like LA Knight hot last year. You know what I
Right.
mean? She
Right.
is just coming out, and I just want to see her push, 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 push.
Really quick, do you allow Jade Cargill to lose, or is this going to be a DQ situation? Because I don't know if you can. I mean, you're trying to build her up. You're showing how powerful she is, right? Do you have her lose this early in a singles match in her career, or
Not without not without some sort of foul play.
Sure.
Something has to happen where there's a mistake or there's a mess up or something happens and it costs her the match. Um, and it's tough with Tiffany too, like because I don't think they want to give us Jade versus Bianca yet. That I feel like is they're the team now, they're friends, and that
Right.
can lead eventually to the split and the
Sure.
rivalry
Yeah.
of those two, which will be box office stuff. So I feel like one of them has to lose this week, if not both. But I don't know how Bianca and Jade. Maybe Bianca's out there, supporting Jade, and Nia does something to Bianca that gets her fired up, and Bianca kind of like tries to like get back at her, and then gets in Jade's way, costing her the match. I don't know,
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. You can't tell with WWE anymore. They've done a great job of not like showing their hand too
Well,
early
the
on some of these things.
the one thing I mean that you brought up, and then we went right into the women's was Jey Uso, and the HAB sent over a little GIF or a video to us about how over Jey Uso is with the crowd, right? And it's really impressive to see him like control the crowd like that. And it's again, we talked about meteoric with Tiffany Stratton. I mean, but Jey Uso, I mean, he's exploded. I mean, his anthem is being played now in NBA arenas. I think you saw that video.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeet.
Yeah, I just don't know if his wrestling ability matches what he is right now in the WWE. Like
His character, kind of
I
his
I don't know.
overness.
I just don't he just seems sloppy in ring,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know, and it just doesn't. I'm not saying that like it's not deserved or anything like that. Look, he's done a decent job as a singles competitor, but it's just like he's thrust now into this main event Jey Uso character, and I'm just not seeing like the excellence in the ring that I would like to see.
Right. Yeah, he's a little undersized and he's redundant with his moves, I would say. It's like super kick, frog splash, spear,
But
all that
and like
stuff.
that's the issue I think with me is like the spear isn't like he barely even he doesn't sell it well at all. Like
Right.
I mean, I know it's not his job to sell it, but when he delivers it, it just doesn't seem like it's
Vicious.
devastating. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what he beat Dragonoff on, right? Like it's like, come on.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I totally do. And I agree with you. His in-ring is not like it's I guess sloppy is a good word. It's just it's very safe, which is fine, but I don't know.
Yeah.
His match versus Gunther this week coming up, I'm really looking forward to. They've gone at it before, and I still think that I feel like it's gonna this time they're gonna take it to another level. At least they should, and we'll see
I'm
where it
a,
goes. But his character is over, and that's the thing. Like his the yeeting and the crowd and everything like that had and his merch sales,
yeah.
that all factors into the push, and he might be undeniable at that point.
Well,
They're doing it at NBA stadiums.
I'm uh I'm denying the fact that his suicide dive sucks. I hate it.
A lot of suicide dives. It's just all right here. Like
Like
it's become. Here we
I
go.
like Seth's because he does like three of them right in a row usually. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. It's come on.
I hear what you're saying. I totally get it. We're gonna talk. We'll touch on this real quick. Tama Tonga versus LA Knight this Friday, and Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes. Two interesting matchups. Where are they going? Tama Tonga just becoming coming up, and is it too early for him to lose? LA Knight. I mean, he's someone that you could see winning the King of the Ring, and maybe this is a thing that they give him. That would be interesting. I don't know. Randy Orton, Carmelo Hayes, similar things. Randy Orton is I thought he looked pretty good this past week, and he's obviously got a lot of history. Carmelo Hayes, young, coming up. Is it time for him to lose yet? I don't know. I don't think so. I would say you're gonna get LA and Carmelo moving on. somehow, you know? I don't know. Nope. Total switch. Tamatonga and Randy Orton are moving on. That's what I'm calling right now.
Well, they teased that um a little bit, right, with the whole Randy Orton thing. Um and the thing that's bothering me is LA Knight kind of getting lost in the shuffle here.
Yeah.
He got his push. He got his nice little WrestleMania match with AJ Styles. AJ Styles goes on to wrestle Cody Rhodes for the belt. And then it's just like I don't know, man. We've seen him, he's delivered. Like remember for that whole last year, we were like concerned about, can he LA sustain himself? Is he going to get lost in the shuffle? Is this just going to be just a thing that's a flash in the pan? And everyone was making fun of him, and it's not. It's clearly not. We're over a
Right.
year now, and he is yet to wear any sort of gold. No tag team, no no intercontinental, no nothing, not a single belt. Now he did get a shot at the title with Roman versus Roman Reigns, but it just seems like this would be a nice little push for LA Knight if he was able to capture the King of the Ring.
Yeah. That would be, I mean, that would be really, I would like that. Could you imagine him beating Gunther in the championship of the King of the Ring? I mean, that would be pretty incredible story right there. So
Yeah, no,
we'll see where
absolutely.
that goes. Looking forward to those matches. And like we were saying about King of the Ring, look at all these matches that we get to look forward to coming up on SmackDown and Raw. Kudos to WWE for throwing a great King of the Ring tournament thus far. Okay, let's move on. The big news from Friday Night SmackDown started off hot. Cody Rhodes comes out and Nick Aldis says, "We have your opponent and you're going to meet him right now." Out comes Logan Paul. And let me say, Logan Paul, I love him, dude. He's great. He's got it. If you want to say it, he brings that swagger. He's prepared on the mic with things to say. Let's listen to a couple things that he had to say this week.
Champion versus champion. That's a challenge I certainly like, because the fact is, holding not one, but two.
Ah, see, that's the thing, Cody. Facts don't care about your feelings, and neither do I. I got some facts for you, champ. I, Logan Paul, not you, am the longest reigning champion in the WWE. I am the greatest attraction in this company. I had the greatest rookie year of all time. And I am a superstar.
Well, I mean, you could argue all of that. I mean, he definitely is a superstar. You could argue he is the greatest attraction in the WWE. If you look at his social media following, he brings tons of eyes and tons of views. And the WWE's rise over the last couple of years, it coincides with him being involved. He can make that argument. But just to point that out is great. I mean, it's really smart as a superstar and I guess, heel professional wrestler. And I love this matchup. What did you think about this announcement, Tim?
Yeah, it is traditional heel work that Logan Paul's doing, right? But he's doing it in a different manner because he's getting the heat, but he's also like, people love it, right? Like
Yeah, I
I
love it.
think
I know I love it.
yeah, you case in point. But yeah, I do like this because the one thing that we have talked about in the past on this show, Tom, is about Cody Rhodes and the redundancy of who he would wrestle, right? Like, oh, we got the Shinsuke Nakamura stuff, right? And then
Right.
we had the Seth Rollins stuff 3 times and Brock Lesnar 3 times. And yeah, then we got Roman Reigns twice. Like, it's it's now time to expand, right? And see who else, like, who else is he going to challenge, or not challenge, but is going to challenge him. And I'd love to see him in the ring with more and more wrestlers. It's going to be fun to see his journey with the belt, um, and who it leads to. And Logan Paul is really, I think, a great choice to start out, because you have easily the hottest wrestler in the game right now with Cody Rhodes, with him finishing his story, right? And then you have this young and up and coming, just, I mean, he's been fully committed now for a few months, where we see him on TV consistently. He's not just this guy that's gonna pop in and pop out every so often. He's here to stay, and he showed that, in his new contract signing, and he's been on TV consistently. So I think this is a perfect matchup for both these individuals. I think they're both going to gain from this matchup. Um,
I
depending
agree.
on depending on look, I doubt that Cody's going to drop this title, but there's going to be some sort of foul play in this.
Something has to go on with this, Tim. And that, I guess, too, is another great job by WWE. They give us Cody versus Logan Paul, which is kind of like, oh, wow, I wasn't really expecting that matchup, title versus title. And that idea of title versus title has people talking. Wait, well, where do they go with this? You're going to have Logan Paul, who is everything he just said he was. He's a superstar, and you're going to take the title off of him, and now all the belts are going to be having these short reigns right now. And I kind of like the idea of keeping the belt on Logan, but he shouldn't get the undisputed championship right now, right? I mean, are they going to strap Logan like that already? Like, could you imagine if Logan Paul wins and has both belts right now, like moving forward? Like, no
Yeah,
way. There's no
yeah.
way they do that.
Well, again, you mentioned it a few seconds ago. Like, the WWE is keeping us guessing, right? And that's what is not beautiful, but like just
No.
great about like the storytelling is just, we don't know which way it's going to go, and you go through your head in you go through every possibility. Like, oh, someone's going to interfere, or maybe there's someone that's going to come at, like, are they going to introduce Howdy, what's his face,
Right. Uncle
like
Howdy. That's what I
Uncle
was thinking.
Howdy.
Maybe that's how they get by this, both belts on the line. And if they do that, Tim, they have to hit that one out of the park. If they
Yeah,
come out and it's just this like then
double DQ, and
yeah, it's
everyone
gotta
goes
be
home.
it's really gotta be a show if
It's got
Uncle
to be
Howdy is showing up.
it has to be like a holy shit moment, right?
Right.
Like, where like the lights go out like in the middle of the match, and all of a sudden it's just an absolute beatdown with, like, we keep on hearing the rumors, and we keep on seeing the things on the QR codes and all this stuff. If what is said to be, what the rumors are out there that are going to be true, there's going to be six individuals that are part of this whole Howdy thing, right? Uncle Howdy thing, whatever stable it is. If they all show up and absolutely wreak havoc on that ring during a championship match, that would be impressive. That would be noteworthy. That would be something that would eye open, the entire WWE audience.
Yeah, and do it in a way that is brutal. I want these guys through the tables. I want, maybe some blood or whatever. Look similar to like a Tama Tonga with KO or Jimmy Uso. Let's do something. If they come out there and it's 6-on-2, make it be a real physical beatdown. And that's an interesting story moving forward if Logan Paul is beat down by this group too. Like, it could help, because eventually I feel like he could have a great run as a baby face. He's very good on the mic, and if he's got someone and people are now like, man, this Uncle Howdy guy is kind of weird. Like, I'm kind of cheering for Logan Paul here. I want him to win. It would be an interesting thing if that goes forward. And obviously, Cody has that going on too. But great call by WWE. Really excited to see where this match goes and how it turns out. All right, let's talk now about Chad Gable and his character development, the heel, narcissistic, uh, just jerk that he's playing right now. I like where the story is headed. If I were to be critical on it, I would say I think he does a little too much with the it's it it's there's a fine line between it being good and being hokey and like this like I didn't teach him that. I didn't teach him that. I didn't teach him that. He keeps yelling, I taught him that. I taught him that. I didn't teach him that. And he's like, just shut up. And when he does something bad, like yell at him. You know what I mean? It's a little too much, but I like where it's going. Obviously, we are big fans of Chad Gable in ring. I think his character is good, but man, when he slaps Otis across the face this past week, that was like, wow. And I saw that, and you saw the crowd's reaction to Otis and him being belittled and emasculated and just like talked down to and all this other stuff. I feel like the potential of Otis and being a babyface is really good. Very similar to that of a Sami Zayn. I don't think he'll get as high as Sami Zayn, but like the crowd can really fall in love. He's just a very lovable character. And I think they're really setting this up for something good here with the Gable Otis back and forth for when Otis eventually says, I've had enough and turns on Gable.
Yeah, and I look, here's the thing. I think Otis is already over, right?
Right.
Like your point is, hey, like he's gonna snap and then finally turn on, and like the crowd's gonna love him, and he's gonna be a face. He already is a face. It's just a matter of where they want to go with it, right? Um, Gable can fuel that, right, by how harshly he treats him, and that slap is a prime example, right? Like, and it helps that Otis is just like this big guy, right? And like he's over clearly overweight, right? He's a heavier guy, and like you can play into that whole situation, right? Where
Yes, I agree. I think he should attack his weight because it's
that
really a cheap shot.
yeah. But like what I don't want to happen is that, oh man, like he snaps and he turns on him, and which is what they're meant to do, but is that all we're gonna get out of like this whole Chad Gable thing? Is just it's gonna be Gable versus Otis, and that's it. And it goes nowhere with Gable, and he just leaves Alpha Academy, and he's by him. Like, I hope that there's more to it, right? Like, and
Right.
and I know we always talk about long-term storytelling. Yeah, there was that tease about the Creed brothers and stuff like that. Like, I really hope that there is something to that, and that's where it's headed. Um, because the Creed brothers, if you've noticed, they've been losing a lot. I mean, they haven't been clear-cut winners at all in any of their matches. They lose again on Monday Night Raw. Um, and it seems like maybe that's where it's headed, where they're gonna eventually like, hey, like we need a new coach, right? And then Gable comes along and they join up. I think
Right.
that's where it's gonna head. But I just don't know if this deserves like a month long, another 3 weeks of attention, right? Like
Right.
just let's just get it over and done with. This is kind of like a minor plot here amongst everything else that's going on in the WWE. I don't need this to be, a four week or 2 month story tell. Like let's get this on the road here. Like let's get it moving.
Well, I'm wondering if it's, you know, because where does Otis go? I feel like if you have Gable, like maybe Gable wins the Intercontinental Championship at this next PLE, and they're still doing this stuff where he's belittling, and then it turns into Otis turns on him, or Otis has had enough and breaks away, and they have a match against each other. Gable still retains, and then that's when you know what I mean? Because I feel like the build should be towards SummerSlam, being that the Creed brothers are from Ohio, where the PLE will be held. You know, Logan Paul on a similar trajectory should be on that big. So maybe then you have the Creed brothers somehow win the titles at some point, and then they put them on the line against a Tozawa and an Otis. You know, as far as that feat. I don't know, but I like. I'm interested where this is going. I always like Gable on TV, and I just would say to him, chill a little bit with as much as you're doing. Do what you're doing, but not as much. Like it gets to be too jokey, too like make it a little more real. Like you're a character, but you're still a real person. All right, let's get to another announced championship match. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is going to be announced for King and Queen of the Ring or if it will be for later PLE because McIntyre is injured, but the match has been announced. Drew McIntyre versus Damien Priest. I was actually impressed with Priest on the mic this week. Let's listen to a couple things that he had to say.
Drew, let's not forget about the part that you proceeded to get your ass whooped by a one-armed man. Oh. So yeah, I cashed in. Now you know what? Your elbow's gonna heal. You're gonna get cleared. So what? You want a shot at the world title? Fine, you got it. But check this out, Drew. You can call me a paper champion all you want, but when I'm done with you, you're gonna eat those words.
All right, so a little bit better, as I'm listening to it again, I'm like, you're going to eat those words, You're going to rue the day. You better listen to what I say or you'll pay. It was good. He had some jabs at him that weren't necessarily in that clip that cut pretty good as far as him costing him the match at WrestleMania, the cash in. You should have paid more attention to your wife instead of CM Punk. You made CM Punk bigger than your wife, and that was like, whoa, okay,
Yeah, he look, Priest did a better job this week. I've always been highly critical of him on the mic. And just like, his in-ring is pretty good. I just think that that other part that is really necessary if you're going to be a champion, he's just lacks. And I think it's just his style, really, in the way that he speaks in the ring. It's more conversational, right? It's more like how you're sitting there, you're like talking with your buddies, right? Like, yeah, man, your mom, or not like mom jokes or anything like that. It's just like kind of like you're just breaking balls almost instead of like being like.
But he's not very good at it.
Yeah, exactly. He's like me.
But he just misses sometimes, and he fumbles his words. Like he might even have a good dig sometimes. Like, oh yeah, well you're stupid.
yeah, you're stupid, and it's like
you'll eat your words.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But I am kind of there's one other thing that I really want to kind of touch on here, and I know that Punk is hurt, but like, how many times are we going to hear Drew McIntyre come out and just bitch about CM Punk over and over and over again? Like, we say that Drew is doing his best work and he's great on the mic, and is he just going to do this until he's cleared? We're going to get this every Monday night and it's going to be the same thing over?
Yeah, he needs to get away from it. It's gotten old. Like, enough, like that whole Punk, until Punk can go, until they can have face to face. I don't know. They've already said a ton already. It's getting old, you know?
Yeah. I as much as I love Drew, it's just, I don't know what else you can do until this guy is actually healed.
Right.
Unless you start running like cars at him in the parking lot, and shit like that, the stuff that we used to see in the early 2000s. It just feels like it's kind of run its course here until they get into the ring.
All right. So we've seen some, dissension amongst the Judgment Day, and they've talked about that. Obviously, Carlito seems to be joining the faction now with Mommy out and Dirty Dom hurt and that stuff. And I liked how he played into them winning the #1 contendership for the tag titles. I thought that was good. And Damien, I think him not accepting Carlito has actually been pretty good. But it's all leading to this Damien kind of pushing himself out of the Judgment Day, it seems. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it seems like there's always these nuggets for the last like 8 months, 9 months or whatever. And will this be the time that Drew McIntyre, will he beat Damien Priest when they face for the championship, or does Damien Priest retain? He hasn't had the title that long. He had his big cash in. I think I would like to see the title on Drew. I feel like he holds more weight. What are your thoughts on what's going on with this? Who's going to win this matchup when they go against each other?
Yeah, we've been calling for this whole thing to really blow up, right? Like we've been calling this for I think about 5 months now.
It's been a while. It's been a while since War Games.
Yeah, it's tough for me, right? Because I do think that I'm in the same boat as you. I believe that Drew McIntyre should hold on to this title. But the one thing that I keep coming back to here with the Judgment Day and how they are really decimated, right? Without Mommy, who is their clear leader. And without Dirty Dom, who I mean had the most heat, in WWE, in wrestling. And having those two guys, those two wrestlers on the sideline, I think that they need to have a stronger voice, which I think would be Drew McIntyre. I don't know, like, because you said that, like, we've gotten all these little nuggets, right? We've seen like Drew in the back, like talking to Mom. We've seen all these things, and just nothing really came to fruition, right? So I wonder if that is what happens, right? Like, hey, we can justify a short reign on Damian Priest if there's a turn here, right? Where Judgment Day comes out, right? Like, and Priest saved Jey Uso, a couple weeks ago, right? When the beatdown was about to happen, right? If he wins that match. And he pushes those guys aside. Maybe this happens where, like, hey, Drew, or not Drew, the Judgment Day comes out and costs him the title, or one of those types of things. But it just makes more sense for me to have that stronger voice in Judgment Day while these two individuals are going to be out for quite some time.
And then one last thing, we talked about it last week. Another little crumb has been dropped here as they were going to talk, and they cut it off. But Damien says, enough of this. But how are you and Mommy doing? What's going on with you and Mommy to Dirty Dom? And like, is everything all good? And then they were interrupted by the rest of the Judgment Day, so we didn't get it. But that's 3 weeks in a row of Liv Morgan coming out of the locker room. Then she's got the purple bandana in her pocket. Hey, is everything all right with you and Mommy? So what's going on with that? We're keeping an eye on that. I think eventually that leads to the ultimate heel turn, Dom turning on Mommy. What a moment that would be. Heartbreaking. How dare you even think about turning on Mommy? Timmy.
Dun, dun, dun.
That is going to be the end of this week's episode of Jabroni Drive. Once again, we appreciate you listening. We love you. Please give us that follow, that subscribe. Call us 215-948-6546. That's 215-948-OK-GO. Leave a message. Talk about professional wrestling, things you want us to talk about, predictions, matches that maybe we should check out. Timmy, what do you got to say to all the Schmidt and Lavelle-ites out there before we sign off?
And everyone knows that when you listen to Jabroni Drive, that you're a Jabroni whore. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. That was just too sweet. Until next week, my name is Tom Lavelle for Timothy Schmidt. We love you. Have a great weekend. Check out SmackDown. Some big King and Queen of the Ring matches. And we'll break it all down next week on Jabroni Drive. Until then, peace.